Farr Swit is an American microbrand, and I've been wanting to review their seaplane watches since I first discovered them earlier this year. By now, you know of my obsession with blue, and my affinity towards these watches should come as no surprise. The seaplane is offered in two variants: a steel case called the Day Trip at $629 and a black PVD coated case called the Midnight Trip at $649. I personally love the adventurous aesthetic of the watch, and while the case might not be a complete departure from Submariner inspired watches, this watch stands out with its very interesting dial that has both pilot and diver watch inspiration. These watches are assembled in Ohio, and you can add them to the list of American microbrands that are manufacturing overseas but assembling and performing quality control in the USA. Today we're going to be looking at the brushed stainless steel case Day Trip, so let's check it out. The 42mm diameter 50.5mm lug-to-lug width case is entirely brushed and does have a fair bit of weight to it. The finishing on the case is good, but I won't say great because the brushing isn't perfectly even and some parts of the case feel slightly rougher than the others, particularly near the lugs. I like the lug design. The lugs are short and dramatically curved down towards the wrist. The lug width is 22mm, which I think is appropriate for the 42mm case. The lug holes are somewhat atypically positioned in a good way, allowing for a tight gap between the case and strap. Unfortunately, this positioning doesn't allow for drill-through lugs. The bezel has a very interesting ridge pattern that has some areas with teeth and some without. It does look good and is easy to grip and adjust. The action on the bezel is very heavy and feels like quality, with loud clicks. There are no alignment issues and no bezel play. Very impressive stuff here. On the sapphire crystal covered bezel insert, all of the increments of 5 are loomed with BGW9 Superluminova, including the blue triangle at the 12 o'clock. Each Arabic numeral minute indicator on the bezel has an underscore, and I personally find it unnecessary. If anything, it highlights some printing inconsistencies on the dial insert. Notice the gaps between these underscores and the bezel. The 6.5mm diameter screw-down crown protrudes significantly out of the case, but is accompanied by a pair of neat crown guards. The ridges on the crown are excellent, and the crown is very comfortable to operate. There isn't any crown or stem wobble. Flipping it over, you have a screw-down case back that has an exhibition window. This watch is rated for 100 meters of water resistance. Given the dimensions of this watch and its designated use case, I would have preferred if it were a solid case back with another 100 meters of water resistance instead. But given that most of us will rarely ever need more than 100 meters of water resistance, I think this is fine. The case back cover is short, and this helps the watch in terms of comfort, so it definitely earns points there. The dial is the most interesting and appealing aspect of this watch. The chapter ring is a bright blue with white markers. The chapter ring is perfectly aligned with the dial and the bezel. The predominantly black dial has moderately sized rectangular hour indices that are loomed with BGW9 as well. There are Arabic numerals at the 6, 9 and 12 positions, similar to many aviation watches. These are loomed and look great. The finishing of the painted hour indices and the numerals is very good. The loom is painted onto raised sections of the base dial layer. There is a date window at the 3 o'clock position that eats into the hour index, but it isn't too awkward about it. I wish the date wheel was color matched to the dial, but even in its current state it isn't bad at all. The base dial layer has a beautifully embossed pattern of waves across the lower half of the dial and a tastefully painted starry night on the top. This fits the seaplane design inspiration perfectly and doesn't look tacky at all. I love it. Above the 6 o'clock is a sub-dial style element that has a seaplane printed on it, along with the name of the watch and its water resistance rating. I think printing an actual plane on the dial was a bold move, but a successful one. The hands are once again aviation watch inspired with the sword style design for the hour and minute hands. The hands are painted blue and filled generously with BGW9 loom. The finishing appears to be quite good and I have no complaints. By now you must also know that I'm a big fan of minute and seconds hands that reach to their respective tracks, as this makes accurate timekeeping very easy and just helps overall legibility. The seconds hand on the seaplane extends elegantly over the chapter ring, automatically earning this watch extra brownie points. The minute hand doesn't extend all the way to the chapter ring, but is close enough to be easily legible. All the loomed elements are grade A BGW9 Superluminova, and it looks great. The triangle on the bezel has a neat change in gradient at the border because of the design. All the loomed elements are sufficiently bright and retain their brightness well. I would have loved to see a loomed seconds hand, but the loom on this watch is more than acceptable. This watch uses a Sellita SW200-1 that is visible thanks to the exhibition window. This isn't a beautiful movement, but it isn't ugly either. The movement is quite clean, which indicates good assembly and quality control protocol. I logged the accuracy of this watch over a 3-day period and observed an average accuracy of plus 8 seconds per day, which is within spec. The 42mm diameter and 50.5mm lug-to-lug width make it an arguably large watch for my 6¼ wrist. The dramatically curved lugs help with this, and where the case is concerned, I never felt like it was too big for my wrist. The 12.5mm height, combined with the well-proportioned case back cover, help it sit quite low and comfortably so. The sailcloth strap, however, is a clear indication that my wrist size was not in their target market. I was on the last strap hole, and the clasp folds inward, pressing against my wrist flank, making it impossible to wear without discomfort. This clasp design is definitely a bit odd. Luckily, I had a 22mm strap lying around and wore that throughout my review. So I'll admit it is a comfortable watch, but if you can get rid of the sailcloth strap for something else, they do offer some great looking leather straps and a silicone strap as well. To wrap things up, I like this watch and the design in particular. $629 is a reasonable price for a well-made SW200 equipped watch, and I like this watch more than I did the Collins Sonar that is similarly priced. There are some things I didn't like about this watch, like the strap that is easily fixed and the finishing on some parts of the case, but even with those two minor issues, I think this is still a unique enough watch to justify buying if you like it. The bezel action is great, the quality of finishing on the dial and hands is more than satisfactory, and even the tidiness of the movement goes to show good assembly and quality control protocol. Farr and Swit do occasionally have discounts, so if you can grab one of these closer to the $500 mark, I think you're getting a very good deal. Because this watch is a lot of fun, and if you like blue, you're going to enjoy every minute of it. In terms of presentation, Farr and Swit deliver a great purchasing experience with a beautiful US postcard-inspired instruction card, a branded cardboard box with foam padding, a handwritten and signed warranty card, and all of this is placed in a perfectly appropriate 5-liter dry bag. So thanks for watching this review, and be sure to leave your opinions in the comments. And don't forget to read the full-length review in the link below.